They say if you climb up Ann Ridge on a still night and whisper her name 3 times into the dark, misfortune will surely follow you home. Some claim they've seen strange lights flickering in the trees up there. Others swear they've heard a black cat hissing from the shadows, eyes glowing like lantern fire. And a few will tell you they've heard the shuffle of footsteps behind them, soft and steady, drawing closer with every breath. Folks in Polk County, North Carolina, have carried this warning for near 200 years now. Beware the curse of Witch Ann Shepherd. Welcome to Legends from the Holler, where the old mountains keep their secrets, and we bring you the tales whispered down through generations. These are the stories of haints and witches, of ghost lights and cursed roads, born in the ridges and hollers of Appalachia. So draw close, settle yourself by the fire, and listen well. For tonight, we'll speak of Witch Ann Shepherd, a woman both feared and pitied, whose name is still whispered on the wind. Ann Biddy Shepherd came into this world on a night that was already steeped in superstition. Halloween, 1844. The wind cut cold through the foothills, leaves scattering along Ann Ridge, where her family had carved out a hardscrabble life. But as Ann took her first breath, her mama Sally gave her last. Death and life came hand in hand that night, and in these mountains, folks reckon such a birth marks a child forever. From her very first cry, Ann was spoken of in whispers. Born cursed, some said, a bad sign brought to life. Her father, P.D. Biddy, did his best to raise her, but he was a stern man, already weighed down by hardship. Much of Ann's raising fell to her great-aunt, Isa Biddy, a woman steeped in old country knowing. They lived on the edge of the world, it seemed, up at Wildcat Spur, where the ridges rise like dark walls against the sky. It's told that young Ann was fascinated by a woman named Owada, a native healer who lived nearby. From her, Ann learned the secrets of herbs and roots. What to boil for fever, what to crush for pain, what to steep for childbirth. By the time she was grown, neighbors would come knocking at her cabin door when they needed a cure or when a new baby was on his way. But in the hollers, a woman with that much knowledge walks a thin line. A healer today can be called a witch tomorrow, and it don't take much for mountain talk to twist good deeds into dark rumors. In 1862, Ann found a bit of light in the darkness when she married her neighbor, John Shepherd. Folks say the two of them built a small cabin together, setting their hopes on a quiet life. For a brief time, she had what every mountain woman dreamed of: a home, a husband, maybe the promise of children. But the world had other plans. That same year, the Civil War tore through the nation and John was called to fight. He marched off to Virginia, leaving Ann behind. It's said he carried a brass button from her dress for luck, tucked in his pocket like a charm to keep him safe. While John was gone, Ann tended the folks of Wildcat Spur. She delivered babies, set bones, mixed remedies. Neighbors began to rely on her, but at the same time, her losses grew heavier. Her great-aunt Isa passed. Her stepmother followed soon after. Her in-laws, too. And worst of all, her father, P.D., was murdered at Britton Creek by a deserter. Every few months brought another blow. One by one, the people she loved slipped away, leaving Ann alone with her goats, her cows, and her grief. Some said she began to mutter that she herself was bewitched, cursed from birth to lose all she ever held dear. And in these mountains, when you speak such things out loud, folks listen. and they remember. The tale most often told about Ann's fall into legend happened not long after her string of losses. A neighbor named Ruff, angry and grief-stricken over the death of his boy Willie, laid the blame at Ann's feet, said she'd hexed the boy, said she was a witch. Now, another man named Eli Bailey stepped in that day to defend her, saying Ann was no witch, just a woman who'd seen too much sorrow. But by the next morning, Ruff had gunned Bailey down. Blood spilled into the soil, and the holler rang with whispers that Ann had brought on this misfortune too. That was the moment, they say, when Ann snapped. After years of grief, loss, and slander, she raised her chin and gave her neighbors the very words that turned her from victim to legend. I'll put a spell on the last one of them, a spell they won't ever forget. I'll give them a reason to call me Witch Ann. And from that day on, she was no longer Ann Shepherd. She was Witch Ann. After that vow, stories spread like wildfire through the holler. Travelers swore that riding past Ann Ridge at night, their horses would spook and rear, eyes rolling white at strange lights dancing between the trees. Some said it was lantern fire from beyond the grave. Others reckoned it was Ann herself, stalking the road. Children whispered that she could take her broom, draw a circle in the dirt, and trap anyone inside, surrounding them with a swarm of hissing cats until she chose to let them go. One tale tells of a man who saw her toss a black cat into the river. Instead of sinking, the creature floated upstream, paddling against the current as if the water itself bent to her will. Neighbors swore she lived with a herd of animals that obeyed her like kin: goats, sheep, cows, even chickens that seemed to move at her command. 2 white ewes and a black ram were said to be her closest companions. The black sheep, a symbol of her own place in the world. To the fearful, this was proof of witchcraft. To others, it was just a lonely woman clinging to the creatures that wouldn't abandon her. But once a story takes root in these mountains, it grows like ivy, covering every stone until the truth is hidden in shadow. Her legend lives on in a challenge whispered across Polk County to this day. Folks say if you're brave enough, hike up to Ann Ridge at night. Stand in the dark and speak her name 3 times. Witch Ann Shepherd, Witch Ann Shepherd. Well, I'll not finish that if it's all the same to you. But then you wait. Some say misfortune will dog your steps from that night on. Some swear you'll see her black cat hissing from the shadows, eyes glowing like coals. And others, they tell of hearing the shuffle of a woman's steps in the brush, drawing closer and closer until you feel the breath of the cursed on your very neck. So who was she really? A cursed child? Born on Halloween? Doomed by grief to become a witch in the eyes of her neighbors? Or just a mountain woman worn down by tragedy, remembered cruelly by those who feared what they did not understand? That's for you to decide. But one thing's for certain, in the hills of North Carolina, her name is still spoken in whispers, and some say best not spoken at all. That's the tale as it's told in these ridges. But what do you believe? Was Witch Ann a cursed soul, or a woman wronged by her neighbors? Leave your thoughts in the comments. And if you're bold, tell me, would you dare say her name 3 times? You've just heard another tale from Legends from the Holler, where truth and folklore walk the same winding road. If this story stirred something in you, be sure to subscribe and join me again, 'cause there's always another tale waiting in these mountains.